So I indicated that the reason that I did the Kumu template was simply because I got tired of resetting all of the defaults that I wanted to be there every time that I created a model. So I thought that it might be a good idea if I actually described what those defaults were. In terms of the elements, you can code an element to be a stock, a variable, a constant, or a policy, and you do that simply when you create it over here. Well, let me sign in, which I haven't done yet, and so that now that I've signed in, if you select an element, you can go ahead and define here whether it's a stock, variable, constant, or policy. In terms of some of the elements you determine to be leverage points, you can identify those by adding a tag to the element simply called leverage, and that will put a rectangle around it so it's really easy to spot that it's called leverage. The connections are identified to be either it adds to, same, or subtract from opposite, and that the reason for the overloaded definition is because the relationship is different between whether or not it represents a relationship transfer or an actual flow of something. That's why principal to interest is the same, because the principal doesn't flow to interest, but the interest flows to principal, so it's an adds to. When you define a connection, you can also identify a connection strength as strong, medium, or weak. The default is medium if you don't define anything, so that these are mediums. This one is strong, and a weak one is thinner than this one. So it's just a way to identify on the map that you think that there is a difference in the weight of the relationships. Beyond that, the asterisk in red indicates that there is a discussion associated with that particular entity, which could be a discussion associated with an element or a connection, either one. And by clicking on it, you're taken to that particular discussion, and you can continue, you can add to it. Now, the discussions are only there for organizational Kumu accounts, and I think Kumu, organizational accounts cost $10 a month. And if you're doing anything meaningful in Kumu, I would recommend it, because the ability to actually capture comments and have a discussion about certain aspects of the model often proves extremely beneficial. Additionally, there are for elements and connections, there is a profile page for every entity, and that's a place where you can put extended documentation. But here there's also a field called an abstract. And the reason that's defined is because the template uses popovers. So if you mouse over something, you're seeing the title. Well, you will also see the title or whatever's in the abstract. So the abstract could be a short definition of what that entity is, but it allows you to put an extended definition for the entity if someone clicks on it, and that way, when they mouse over it, you don't overload the screen with all of this. All it provides is what's in the abstract, and that's defined in the script here, where it says the popover is the label and the abstract. The legend is defined in this part of the script. The other part that happens sort of automatically is I figured out if you label your loops 01R, 01B, 03, 04, whatever, you can create a control called showcase, which will then put these dots along the bottom, and it will put them in the order of the loops. So that if you click this, it will show you this part. If you click this, it will show you both of them, or this, it will show you just one. It allows you to highlight portions of the model very quickly in the order of the numbers of the loop labels, which I find very useful when I'm describing a model at times to other people. The other thing that's here is, what was it? I don't know. There was one more aspect to this that I wanted to talk about. Oh, right here, toolbar is false. Notice that I said that this uses popovers. Well, they also implemented a toolbar feature, which is really useful when you're developing a model, in that once you create an element, there's a little toolbar that pops up above it that allows you to set all of the aspects so that you can set the label and the text and the color and all of those things for those elements and connections without having to go over into the profile page and get them at the top over here. They're all just right on the model where you create it, which makes it very easy to set all of the attributes of that particular entity. Now, the thing is that when the toolbar is in a true state, popovers don't work. So you make this true when you're developing a model, and when you're done with it and simply want other people to use it. I don't want to delete this. I want to go here, change this back to false, and save it. So now the popovers work, but the toolbars don't show up. So those are all of the aspects, the things that are defined, I think, with regard to the template, that are simply the way that I typically want to develop a relationship model on an ongoing basis. And I don't want to have to go through setting all those things up every time I create one. The other aspect might be these little um, circle images. Jim Cameron created about 800 of these for me, with these little guys doing different things inside of the image. And you can download a JPEG file from this link, and it's a zip file which has 800 200 by 200 JPEG circle images in there that you might find useful. They work out really well in Kumu models. So hope this gives you a better sense of what all the defaults are that I defined and why I used the template. We used to work with people who would come to Kumu to create a model, and they get all distracted by all of the possible defaults and settings and forget they came to create a model. My advice is to use this template until you become at least somewhat comfortable with it, and then create a template that is defined the way that you want it to be when you create your models, and it will just save you a lot of time in the future. So see you in another video soon. Bye.